Yo, what up? This is Rafael, the director of scouting for NBA Big Board, and I have my guy, Richard Stayman, Mavs draft and Magic draft. And today I'm going to put him on the hot seat. He is in charge of fixing the Orlando Magic through the draft, and he also has a pick for the Mavericks. Stay tuned. All right, shout out to each and every person that has made the NBA Big Board podcast their first listen of the day. And today we have a title sponsor. It is Bet Online, and Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds than ever before. Bet Online is where the game starts. And like I mentioned in the opening, I have my guy Richard Stayman, aka Mr. Mavs Draft. But today he has a harder job because I need him to fix the Orlando Magic. But before we get into that, just wanted to see what's up, man. How's everything going? Crazy weather here in Dallas right now.
As we're recording this, I think we're under tornado watch or something. So, super exciting times. Super exciting times.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I have some pre-draft stuff. I'm going to be traveling the next few weeks, and even though I really kind of need to be chilling because I'm still trying to get back adjusted to the U.S. time, but it's season time. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the time of the year that it's our peak season. That's basically what I should say. And then yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. What about you? Any pre-draft stuff that you have going on?
Yeah, I went to one workout this weekend. It's a pretty deeply obscure one, but got to see Caleb Ledoux out of the Santa Cruz Warriors. He wasn't eligible, or he wasn't in last year's draft due to some mishaps from the agency side, but he's now in it. One of the better shooters in this draft, shot 40% from three in Santa Cruz, and I'm going to be going out to Miami soon to see Isaiah Wong. So excited for that.
So Isaiah Wong, are they paying you for that? I mean, I feel like they definitely should be paying you for all this free publicity that he's been getting for the last 3 years. Now, is he working out on campus? Do you know which agency he's working out with?
Yeah, it's on campus. Don't know the agency. Hoping to probe a little bit and find some more intel out while I'm there.
Okay. I may need to have to go out to Miami a little bit this summer. I've heard I've heard quite a few guys are working out there, or at least in the area. I think Jalen Duran, I heard he is possibly out there. I heard Josh Minot is possibly out there in the area. Then Ronnie Taylor, that runs Taylor Sports Group. I mean, I'm sure everybody's seen all the videos with Michael Beasley and John Wall. He'll probably have some guys out there. I know last year he had James Bouknight, and I had a chance to watch some of those workouts. I didn't get a chance to film. I guess I wasn't big enough, and they felt like I wasn't big enough, basically.
Wait, can I ask a very important question as somebody who had Bouknight 5 on their big board last year? What did you think of him in that game? Like, was there something that popped either way?
In the workouts?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the shooting was kind of like the biggest concern, and I thought he shot the ball really well in the workouts. And I think part of the shooting issue was he had like the elbow injury, and so I think that kind of messed up his percentages when he came back. But yeah, I remember you were super high on Bouknight, and a lot of people are happy to see that the coach is gone because they felt like Borrego, I think that's how you pronounce his name, was the main one holding Bouknight and Kai Jones back. Of course, everybody loves rookies or young guys, but we'll see who Charlotte hires next, and if Bouknight can get a little bit more minutes in the rotation. I was shocked to see, I mean, his role or lack thereof in Charlotte, especially with Gordon Hayward being out so much. I thought that was, an opening for him. But let's talk about the reason why you're here today. I see you didn't have on a Mavs shirt today because most of your work is going to be with the Orlando Magic. But speaking of that, I haven't received a Locked On shirt yet. I need to figure out who I need to talk to. I haven't got one yet.
I think there's a guy on Locked On Mavs that might be able to help you. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I got this probably like 3 months ago. So I think you were in Europe. Maybe that's why. Maybe they just don't ship out there, but That's yeah, you need to get that. It's sick.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to pull up on him at the Mavs game. At the Mavs game and get my shirt. All right, so the Orlando Magic, based off of the standings today, have the number 2 pick in the draft. Who's your choice? Who's your guy for Orlando at number 2?
You know, it's one of two guys. I think I can safely, and this isn't because of talent on the first one. I can safely rule out Jaden Ivey just because what the Magic have done the last couple of years, they've gone all in on these guards, and one of the consequences of doing that, unless you rapidly shift away from that, which I think is a bad decision personally, you kind of have played yourself out of the Jaden Ivey sweepstakes. That's one of the consequences of getting Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, Markelle Fultz in consecutive seasons. So, and RJ Hampton while we're at it. So I think they're successfully out of that. The Chet Holmgren sweepstakes, you know, it checks the boxes. This front office in Milwaukee, Hammond absolutely loved those long guys. That's why you got Giannis. That's why you got Von Maker. It goes both ways.
What a contrast.
Yeah.
And only one of them was predicted to be the MVP by Kevin Garnett, and it wasn't Giannis.
It wasn't Giannis. And so I really don't know. I think that you can't go wrong with Paolo and Jabari. I think Chet is also hyper productive and will be a good player. How good is the question for me, not if he's good. So my top pick is probably Jabari, but I'm very, very happy also with Paolo.
All right, so Jabari, your top pick. How does Jabari fit with this current roster? And factor in Jonathan Isaac is going to play basketball again someday. He has to play. I mean, he's been out longer than Ben Simmons. So how does that factor in?
I'm biting my tongue on saying anything about Isaac other than when he's healthy, you know, the core identity this Magic front office has built since they took over is defense. They highly prioritize defense. They're willing to punt it a couple of times, so that's why Jalen Suggs is so important. RJ Hampton's a good defender. You look at every position, they have a good defender somewhere. I mean, even Mo Bamba is like a mediocre defender, and he was one of the worst defenders on the team, arguably. So there's a very strong defensive identity. Jabari Smith fits there. I think the main fit that Jabari Smith has, and this is with or without Isaac, I think this is why he's such a great fit, because I think he's going to be an off-ball player early on, especially. And I know that doesn't sound like the sexiest thing to pick at the top. I get that. But this roster has absolutely no off-ball shooting. It's really, I mean, Mo Bamba was probably their second best off-ball shooter outside of Terrence Ross. So getting them shooters, I think it makes everybody better, helps him on defense, and hopefully he can grow into a creator of his own, because they really just don't have, outside of Franz, they really don't have a front court creator, unless I'm absolutely drawing a blank here. Kind of Wendell Carter. I guess he developed there, but again, not to the level I see Jabari growing into.
All right, let's say, I mean, let's based off the order. Let's say Houston takes Banchero number 1. I'm sorry, Houston takes Jabari number 1. And so you're saying Paolo would be your second choice there?
Yeah, and it gets a little bit trickier there because, again, Jabari just fits like a glove into every single team. Like when you have an elite off-ball player and a really good defender, and it's hard not to put him on all 30 teams and say he works. Even like Phoenix or something, you could fit him in, obviously, where they have a tighter rotation, a lot of depth. I really like Paolo too. My worry is just, will he take touches away, and will that cause, and I don't have an issue personally with that. It's just kind of the effect of that, of will that cause a rift in development and chemistry, whatever it is, having too many cooks in the kitchen.
That's going to happen regardless, in my opinion.
Exactly. That's why I'm not that hesitant on taking Paolo.
Yeah, because even I think if you take Jabari, I mean, he's still number 2. So, I mean, that would make him their highest guy that they've drafted, which means you have to assume that he could be the guy, which I don't know. I mean, that's why you're in charge here. That's why I'm putting you in charge. All right, before I get into more questions about what the Magic should do if Banchero is their pick, I want to talk to the audience about Prize Picks. And if you've been listening, then you know about Prize Picks. But if this is your first listen, it's your first time hearing about Prize Picks, let me explain it to you. It's like if you're looking for a new daily fantasy option, all right? And I was trying to find out the easiest way to describe it. But Prize Picks is just daily fantasy made easy, and you should check it out on the award-winning app. Prize Picks is, again, daily fantasy made easy. You pick 2 to 5 players and over under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry, and it is just you versus the projected numbers. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It is that easy. Prize Picks is safe, and it offers fast withdrawals. So use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. And Prize Picks offers a variety of options. Any prop you can think of, from points scored to rebounds, even steals. And it even allows mixed sports entries. So you can go the over on LeBron and the under on Tom Brady. And Prize Picks doesn't just offer NBA, they have options on college basketball, college football, NFL, Major League Baseball, soccer, MMA, and more. And for a limited time, just a limited time, Prize Picks has an exclusive, no-brainer of an offer for all of our users. Users get $50 free. And if a player in your first Prize Picks entry scores a single point, but you have to use the code NBA, you heard me right. That is right. This is an exclusive offer available for Locked On fans. Sign up today and use the code NBA, $50 for free. And if a player in your first Prize Pick entry scores a single point. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate all the listeners and everybody that has made the NBA Big Board podcast. I almost said Locked On NBA Draft again, but it's like week 3. I should be better. But thank you so much. But for your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast. It gives you nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts. It is free and is available wherever you get your podcast. And it is also on YouTube. All right, this is Rafael Barlowe, the director of scouting for NBA Big Board and founder of NBA Draft Junkies. I still run that. I'm just kind of getting the hang of things with NBA Big Board, but I have some changes I'm making to NBA Draft Junkies, and I will be making those announcements soon. But I'm with my guy Mavs Draft. But today he's still Mavs Draft, but he's got to fix this situation in Orlando. And before we left, we talked about Banchero with the Magic. And do you think that if he were available for Orlando and they made him the number 2 pick in the draft, do you think he's the opening day starter at the 4?
Man. No. Yes.
It's tough. It's tough either way you spin it, because Isaac is getting money.
I don't think he starts. I actually don't think he starts with the injury. I think they pull that as an excuse.
So you would say, who's your starting 5?
Yeah, I'm pulling up the roster thinking about this, but unless I'm really blanking, I feel like it's going to be the only question. I was more hesitant on, would Franz play the 4, and would they play 3 guards? But I think that's pretty unrealistic, or Ross or something. But I think Ross would come off the bench.
I think he's gone anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that's the reality. He's played his last game there. Yeah. I would say Markelle Fultz, Cole Anthony, but see, it gets hard though, because now you're suddenly in his second year. Jalen Suggs isn't starting. That's a concern. And then Franz Wagner, Paolo, and Wendell Carter. The locks for starting are definitely Fultz, Carter, and Franz Wagner. Those are the safest spots. Like, nobody's touching those spots.
You think so?
Oh yeah, no. Wendell and Franz above all, but I mean, like, Fultz he's been the best point guard. I mean, what we saw in the final stretch was better than just about most of what we saw from the others throughout the year. Cole Anthony had a really good early part of the season, but he fell off.
And when you talk about who's the man in a sense, like if you take Jabari and who's the franchise guy, then I think there could be some issues there. And this is just my opinion. I'm not saying this like I have some inside information or anything like that, but if I'm not mistaken, Cole Anthony led the team in scoring, correct? Which means, I'm sure he's going into the offseason not thinking that he's going to come off the bench. And so I think the training camp battles for next year, and we haven't even talked about free agency or anything like that. The training camp battles for next year are going to be crazy. All right, now you can put on your Dallas Mavericks hat. All right.
Much easier.
Much easier. The 26th pick. I mean, this is such a wide range, but out of the players that you think will be available, actually, before we get into the players that you think will be available, what do you think is the Mavericks' biggest team need that they would need to fill at number 26?
Yeah, I think it's one of two things. I mean, you can never have enough shooters, but I think that's come less and less of a priority. I think it's a big man that can protect the rim. I think it's really just a rim protector. You know, Maxi Kleba is more of a below the rim protector. They don't have somebody that can anchor a defense and I guess just be a 2 blocks a game guy. Obviously that's a little bit high. That's too high. Over a block and a half a game, because I'm gonna have to pull this up now and check my numbers. But I'm pretty sure they just don't have that. You know, they don't have somebody who can meet guys at the rim on dunks consistently. Maxi ends up on the other side now a lot more. I feel like he's a good defender, but just not like a true rim protector. Yeah, Kristaps was the only one over one solid block a game. The next was Maxi. So they need to replace that blocking production from Porzingis.
The first below the rim protector I've ever heard of. I mean, it makes sense. It does make sense, but I've just never heard of it used in that term, because I mean, I guess you can say the same thing about EJ Liddell. You know, he's not like this high flyer guy that has crazy vertical pop, but he's an excellent shot blocker. So, you know, that's a new term I'm going to add to my scouting notes: below the rim protector. So thank you for that. We're always evolving and growing in this industry, and you know, we have these, you know, like different titles that we pick up, but now, I mean, when I do a report on EJ Liddell, I can say that he is a below the rim protector, and I got it from you describing Maxi Kleber. All right, so who is your choice for the Mavs? Are you going with shooting? Or are you going with the rim protector?
First, I'm hoping somebody falls. Man,
you never know with this draft.
Who, I mean, we don't know who it is, but also some of the guys I want to fall actually don't fit that entirely well. Like Kendall Brown, I would have loved on the Mavs, but with Josh Green being a misfit, even though he's developed, you really need 2 Josh Greens. Like I don't know if that's the experiment you want to go forward with. Like learn from your mistakes, don't double down on it, kind of thing. You know, maybe I don't know what some of these guys' stocks are. I feel like there's like 20 guys that have top 10 range. So somebody's got to fall. Maybe I've done all these Twitter mocks, so I've got a little bit of recency bias, but man, Ty Washington falls in every one of those. That would be a dream. Also not a great fit. Luka Brunson and Dinwiddie, assuming all 3 come back. So that being said, I think my top choice is your guy, Ismael Kamagate. I would really like him because he's got the mobility. I think he can meet guys at the rim. He can hear me out, being above the rim protector. He can beat both. And I think I really do just believe that with Luka throwing him lobs, I mean, he's going to finish everything.
And man, that dude runs so hard down the floor. I love the way he transitions from defense to offense and vice versa. I think I kind of heard it. I don't know if it's confirmed. I haven't talked to the big man in charge, but I believe Kamagate is going to be here in Dallas doing some pre-draft workouts. So once the season is over in France, and then whatever national team duties, I know there's going to be like a small window, but I do believe that he will be here. Maybe I'll just reach out to him and ask him directly, but I have heard that there's a good chance that he will be here. So that would be pretty cool to see. And I mean, I think he's a good fit. Like if I had to choose anybody for the Mavs that I think would be the best fit, I would go with Kamagate. Maybe it's a little bit of bias because I've actually seen him play multiple times this year, but I think he does feel a need. I mean, he's a rim runner, vertical lob threat, a good shot blocker. But from watching him work out, and I will say this, I've had the opportunity to watch him work out and show me different things that he has not been able to showcase in a game. I do think that there is potential to space the floor. He feels like he has a little bit of Bam Adebayo in his game, maybe some Clint Capella. You know, I mean, we thought Dwight Powell was going to be a shooter. I remember at one point he looked like he was developing into a floor spacer. And then it just seemed like, I don't know, I felt like he was shooting at the beginning of the season. It looks like they just said, okay, stop. No more. But yeah, I like Kamagate a lot. Now, if there's any guards that you think, other than like Ty Washington, like who would be your dream scenario, regardless of fit, that you think could potentially fall that the Mavs could end up having?
Man, you know, I'm about to get smacked by a lot of Mavs fans for what I'm about to say for doubling down on the Euro. Man, if Nikola Jovic is there, I'd love to see him develop here. Jason Kidd has helped Josh Green. Maybe the Mavs can finally develop somebody. I like his ability just to shoot, stretch defense, create at 6'10". I don't know how well he actually defends. In fact, actually, I do. It's not well. I don't know how well he actually finishes. That's my real concern in the NBA is will he be able to finish? But an 18-year-old who's, I mean, he's really young. Like he's 18 past the draft, if I'm not mistaken. He is, you know, with his range and shot creation ability, I'm willing to bet the rest comes along. Like if that translates, just those skills at 6'10", I think you got a top 15 player in the draft.
Yeah, I think that he could be available in that range, but then again, you never know, man. I really feel like between 15 and 35, it can be. I mean, it's not much. I mean, not much difference there. I mean, I think it's going to be a wild draft. I'm looking forward to draft night. But yeah, I mean, I think he would be a very interesting fit. But of course, the Mavs would be like battling the Thunder for the most international
Wait, can I
players.
change my pick? Can I change my pick to somebody else?
You're the
You said
GM, of
anybody,
course.
right? This guy could go really anyway. I think he's still rising, but I'm going to say it. Tari Eason. I would absolutely do anything for Tari Eason. I wanted Patrick Williams in 2020. Not a chance. Obviously, he went number 4. I want Tari Eason. I love his defense. I think his scoring translates. I think his ability to get to the rim translates. All of it. I want all of Tari Eason on the Mavs.
Yeah, and I think he's a better passer than the numbers indicate.
Yep.
Bro, I want to talk a little bit more about him, but let's get to Bet Online, because Bet Online is your number one source for betting stats and sports info. You can find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, news, including this year's playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. Bet Online is your continued source for all of your sports wagering info, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. Bet Online is where the game starts. I'm Rafael Barlowe. He is Richard Stayman. He is on the clock for the Mavericks right now. Tari Eason, we left off talking about him. I mean, what a difference a year makes. Last year, at this time, he was in the portal, goes from Cincinnati to LSU, barely makes a ripple in you know, the whole transfer news. Not someone that we all thought was going to be in this position. And now, I mean, he's someone that, I mean, I have him as a lottery on my last mock. But like I was saying before the break, that this draft is so crazy, you just never know who can fall. I mean, we still haven't really got into the individual workouts yet and all the intel and then the combine stuff. So he could be available. But let's say he is available for Dallas. How do you think the Mavs would use him?
Oh man, I'm all about that. I think they would use him as a somewhat creator. You know, the Mavs really just don't have front court creation. It's all the backcourt does all of the offense. And I think it would create a lot of mismatches, both for shooters and just for Luka, and just how teams defend the Mavs as a whole. I think it unlocks a whole nother level. And on top of that, you can guard the best player on the other team. It alleviates a lot of stress off Maxey, for example.
Yeah, one thing I noticed, like when I watched him, he is like this defensive playmaker. Like he creates a lot of his own offense with his defense, whether it's steals, blocks, and he's such a good transition finisher. And I mean, I think that he would be a good fit for any team. I'm a Blazers fan, and I think I had him mocked to the Blazers before the whole play-in thing, and the Blazers don't have 2 picks now, but I thought the Blazers were going to be able to get him with one of their 2 lottery picks, but obviously that is unlikely to happen unless the Blazers fall or select them higher. But I think like Eason could be like this guy that you can plug and play on any team. He gets to the free throw line and it's just based off of his activity. And if the shot ends up translating, then I mean, I think he could be a really high level starter. All right, so now we're off the clock with the Mavs, back on the clock with the Magic. And it is pick number 32, and this is a wide range. I mean, this is, it could be somebody that you have projected at the back end of the lottery could still be available here. But what makes this so tricky and difficult, and why I'd rather it be you than me, because the Magic are going to have 3 draft picks. And no matter who they take, even at number 2 is going to be a lot of redundancy. So at number 32, in this difficult job that you have, who are some guys that you think could be available for Orlando? Now, honestly, and I've said this before, and I hope nobody gets offended by this, but if I'm an agent, I'm like, no, man, we're not going to Orlando. There's not, even though it's not a good team, you have to look at the roster the way it's constructed now and wondering, like, all right, what path can my guy come in here and earn minutes as a rookie? If it's a point guard, then you're feeling like, all right, at the minimum, you're third on the depth chart. If it's maybe fourth at the two, unless it's like this big wing two, but you still got to figure they're gonna play Fultz and Suggs together and Anthony. So that 3 guard rotation is there. If it's at the 3, maybe, unless you're just a lights out role player shooter. The 4 spot is definitely confusing because you could say Isaac, Wagner, and whoever they select at number 2, if that's the pick, is going to be that rotation there. And then at center, Wendell Carter's the guy. Maybe Mo Bamba's gone. I don't know. So anyway, you got to look at like, man, is there a clear path to earn some playing time? So if you're the general manager, and I'm saying it if I'm the agent of a player, but if you're the general manager of the Magic at number 32, are you swinging for the fences here? Are you just gambling, or are you going for somebody that you think could come in and help make the team better immediately?
Well, if we're being the absolute most realistic in this scenario, they're trading these picks because this front office has used 1, maybe 2. They've used 2 second round picks since taking over in 2017. Wes Iwundu and Justin Jackson, the one that never played in the NBA for Maryland. So this front office doesn't have a track record of actually using these picks. They also really never get these top 5 picks in the second round. So I think realistically, they might trade back. Dallas could be a real candidate. Well, 2-for-1 action, get 32 and 35 for 26, something like that. But to answer the question of just staying along and keeping the pick, I do agree. I think this is a chance also. Draft and stash could be an option. But I think I'll save that less exciting route for 35. Really, when you're drafting for the Magic at this point, you're replacing 4 rotation spots or 4 roster spots. It's Gary Harris, maybe 5. Gary Harris, you have Terrence Ross. I think he's out the door. You have Admiral Schofield, who's like the 13th or 14th man. Iggy Brazdeikis, whichever one Schofield wasn't, Iggy was, and then Robin Lopez. So you're really not replacing valuable minutes. So it gets really hard to pick here. All of that being said, the pick is in. I would take just best player available. Again, this is something where it's like the talent is going to fall. Is it going to be someone like Beauchamp? I could see potentially even falling this far because nobody knows how real his jump shot is. I think there's real questions on that. Absolutely nobody knows what Ousmane Dieng's stock is. I don't know if he is there, but I'm just banking on one of these guys that should go in the top 20 to slip. Jaden Hardy could potentially, I don't know if he'll be in the second round, but there's just one of those guys is what I would bank on. I don't have a specific name for this, unfortunately, but there's going to be somebody who slips that should be a top 15 prospect pre-draft. And I think that's who you go for.
Yeah, I don't think there's much difference between 32 and 35 for sure. So if there's a guy you really like at 32, he could be available at 35. Now, does Mavs draft trade with Magic draft?
We accept.
So you would do 32 and 35 for 26 if you were in charge of both.
I have a very hard time seeing the one, you said it best, like 15 to 35, 40, whatever range you want to call it, whatever runs to it, 100% goes 15 to 35 at the minimum is completely interchangeable to me. I've seen so many boards where it's like, okay, I have this guy at 15, you have him at 30, but also like the gut names in between are all the exact same. So I think the Mavs do it, save a little bit of money, I think, because it's non-guaranteed contracts in the second round if they take someone that comes over right away. And the Magic love not taking second round picks. So it kind of makes sense for both sides. If the Mavs also want to get draft and stash, they really have no presence there right now. They have no international guys outside of the kid from Finland, I think, that's become an international presence in the Olympics and FIBA games. But I think it could work out for both. And they could also move another pick back. They could trade both picks separately to get more assets.
All right, so let's say they do keep the picks. And remember, you're in charge.
True.
You're in charge. So who are two players? And I mean, you could, of course, there's a wide range of guys, but who are two players that you personally would take a swing on if you were in charge of the Magic?
Yeah, I'd say start with John Montero. I don't still know how to say his name exactly, right, but Jan Montero. So I would go with him. The intrigue. He's a mystery player to some extent. Crazy handles. People talk about him having some of the best handles in the class. Really deep range. Hope maybe the tools come along a little bit. And then the second, Wendell Moore could be a wing. I think that fits that Magic offense and defense. He plays good defense, can create for others and spot up shoot.
Now, would you take a gamble on and I mean, I don't want to butcher the guy's name, from Davidson? I know you're high on him, the Korean Klay Thompson, as a fit. I don't even know if he's in the draft yet. Maybe
I like him. Hyunjung Lee, I do like him. However, I started to grow a little bit less optimistic because of the decline this year, and then also some of the footwork on some of his threes does go missing at times. Slight worries, and maybe I'm overthinking what he did last year, which was ridiculous. He shot 44% free. He was 44, 90. So 51%, 44 from three on 5.5 attempts per game. And it's funny because I'm talking like he just had like some horrible year, but he went down to 47% from the field, 38% from three. So it's still really good. I would consider it at that point though.
If there was a guy, and this is me putting on my Magic GM hat, and I'll end with this. If there's a guy that I think could come in and fill a role and provide like a positional need, I would go with Gabriel Prachita. I think that he could be like this 3-point shooter that doesn't necessarily need the ball. He's athletic. He could be a defender. The only question I have there for him is if it's a bad team again and they start playing a little bit of selfish and the ball doesn't move, then I think he could end up being someone that doesn't look good if he's trying to make the right play. But everything I've seen about him, he is a confident sniper. And when he does get touches, he's letting it fly. But I think he could be like this off-ball shooter that Orlando sorely needs, like you had mentioned at the top of the show. So that would be a guy that I think could possibly be available, but man, we just don't know. I mean, this is going to be such a weird draft, but this is going to be one of my favorite drafts because I think every year we're probably doing more and more research, and everybody's like focused on this draft space getting better at their craft. And I mean, what was your big board list? I mean, how many players deep was it? Like 100 or something like that?
Yeah. I try, honestly, I'll be 100% transparent. I probably shouldn't expose myself on this, but I just kind of like the idea of exposing players and like getting some of the names that just don't go. And, a lot of people stop at 50. So, the 50, but it's like, what about the other 50? Like there's tons of players in the draft. I do a lot of it for exposure more than actual, like, in-depth analysis through like, what's the difference between 108 and 110? I don't want to do that. Like, but just kind of showing off the names.
Yep. All right, before we go, actually, where can the audience find your work? I mean, most people know you by now. I mean, you're constantly tweeting about the draft and dropping videos. But for those that do not know where they can find you at, where can the audience reach you?
Yeah, everything's at Mavs Draft on Twitter. It's the hub. Anything I post to my site, mavsdraft.com, or videos, anything like that, scouting reports, all of it. It's all there.
Well, man, that wraps up this episode. Richard Stayman has fixed the Orlando Magic. He's made a couple trades, and he's got the Dallas Mavericks a rim protector. He's addressed some shooting for Orlando. So I'm not. I guess none of us are right at this time, but actually like the moves that he's made there. So thank you so much, but also thank you for listening and for I guess your second listen, maybe third listen. Actually, you can listen to as many different Locked On podcasts as possible because we've got all 30 NBA teams. We got Locked On Now. We got NBA Big Board, but we also have the Locked On NBA podcast, and that covers everything from the first jump ball, has covered everything from the first jump ball in the play-in tournament, and they'll be covering everything to the last possession of the NBA Finals, which doesn't look like it will include the Brooklyn Nets. And the Locked On experts will take you deep inside the playoffs with insight and analysis from all 30 teams. I'm Rafael Barlowe. He's Richard Stayman, aka Mavs and Magic Draft, and we are out.